Welcome to At the Vanguard, and happy holidays. This time of year is many things to many people. For me, this time of year is complicated. For some people, the holidays are joyful and grounding and full of warmth. For others, they're heavy or lonely or quietly painful. And for many of us, there's some mixture of all of that at once. I want to start by saying this episode isn't about telling you how to feel about the holidays or how you should be experiencing them. It's not a pep talk, and it's not an attempt to fix anything. It's an attempt to tell the truth. This is the first Christmas I'll spend without both of my parents. My mom died a few years ago, and my dad died earlier this year. My family looks very different now. It's smaller, quieter, more scattered. Some people have moved away. Some relationships are strained. Some are simply gone. At the same time, I'm married. I have a home. I'm beginning to build something new. There's gratitude here. There's hope. There's also grief. And those things coexist in a way that's not always easy to explain. I've never been particularly religious, so Christmas hasn't had a spiritual framework for me in that sense, but I can still feel something shift in the world this time of year. There's a change in the air, a collective softening, a longing for connection. And for a long time, I felt like I was standing just outside of that, watching it happen for other people. So today, I want to talk about what the holidays tend to reveal about us, about our relationships, about our longings, about our wounds, and especially about what it means to be an artist and a human moving through this season with honesty. If you're feeling joyful, you're welcome here. If you're feeling lonely, you're welcome here. If you're feeling both or neither, you're welcome here too. Let's talk about what the holidays really show us once the noise dies down. For a long time, the holidays felt like a season I was observing rather than participating in. There's a particular kind of loneliness that shows up in December. It's not just being alone, it's watching other people go somewhere, watching friends disappear into family gatherings, seeing social media fill up with tables and traditions and inside jokes that you're not part of. It can feel like the world is gently but very clearly saying, this part isn't for you. And what makes it harder is that the messaging is so relentless. For weeks, we're told, implicitly and explicitly, to go be with our families, to return home, to gather, to belong. And if you don't have that kind of family, or if your family is complicated, fractured, or gone, it can feel like you've failed some unspoken test. I remember feeling resentful about that, jaded even. Not because I didn't want other people to have joy, but because it felt like people without traditional families were invisible for nearly 2 months out of the year, as though our lives were on pause until January. That feeling has softened over time, but I still carry deep empathy for anyone who struggles during this season, especially people who are grieving or who don't have a place that feels like home, or who are rebuilding after loss. What I've learned is that the holidays don't create loneliness, but they do amplify it. They turn up the volume on whatever is already there: longing, absence, comparison, memory. And for artists, especially sensitive, observant people, that amplification can feel overwhelming. But it can also be clarifying. Because when something hurts this much, it usually points to something that matters. One of the things the holidays reveal is just how performative we can be as a culture. We talk a lot about how commercialized Christmas has become, and that criticism is fair. There's glitter everywhere, endless music, plastic decorations, a constant hum of consumption and cheer. And yes, much of the original meaning gets buried under all of that. But I also think it's important to be honest about why it persists. There's comfort in the performance. There's nostalgia, familiarity, a shared script. Even the cliches are a kind of shorthand that say, you're part of this. You know this language. For some people, the holidays are a way to pause the chaos of life and remember what matters. They bring out generosity, kindness, and connection. They give people permission to soften. For others, the performance is a way to avoid what's hard, to put a temporary gloss over unresolved grief or tension or pain, to pretend, just for a little while, that everything is okay. And often it's both. What the holidays really do is compress emotion. They take whatever is already present and intensify it. Joy becomes more vivid. Grief becomes sharper. Longing becomes harder to ignore. And that's where the performance starts to crack. Because underneath the decorations and the music, people are still people. They're missing someone. They're afraid of something. They're hoping for something they don't quite know how to name. Personally, I'm not especially drawn to the glitz and gloss. I don't need everything to sparkle. I'm much more interested in sincerity, in tenderness, in things that actually mean something. I'll take a home-cooked meal over a chocolate Santa. I'll take friends singing around a piano over a perfectly curated playlist. I'll take Joni Mitchell's River over endless repeats of All I Want for Christmas Is You, even though they both have their place. Because when the performance falls away, what's left is what the holidays are really about. The human desire to connect, to be seen, to belong. And that desire doesn't disappear when the decorations come down. When I pay attention to what the holidays bring up for me, what they really reveal is longing. I long for family, for connection, for being chosen, not out of obligation, but out of desire. I want people to want to be with me, to seek me out, to build something together, not just when it's convenient, but because it matters. And if I'm honest, I'm afraid of being alone. Loss has a way of making that fear louder. Over the years, and especially this past year, I've lost people, relationships, and versions of life I thought I'd have. I want the holidays to feel like gaining something, not like another reminder of what's gone. What surprises me is that the part of me that feels the most alive during this season is also the most tender. It's the part that feels deeply connected to other people, even strangers. It's the part that can feel immense compassion, that wants to embrace the world as it is, even when it's painful or unfair. The holidays also strip away distraction. When my schedule opens up and when the noise quiets, there's nowhere to hide. Creative projects become possible, which is wonderful, but so do the unresolved parts of myself. The grief, the unanswered questions, the things I've postponed feeling. That can be uncomfortable, but it's also honest. I've learned that when something hurts this consistently, it's usually because it's pointing directly at what matters most. The holidays don't create these feelings, they just uncover them. And that uncovering, however painful, is also an invitation. I think artists feel this season so deeply because we're paying attention. Many of us experience the world with fewer filters. We notice what's missing as much as what's present. We feel contradiction without needing to resolve it right away. And we tend to carry emotion in our bodies, sometimes for a very long time. For me, music has always been the place where those feelings go. I often say that music is my native language. There are things I can express through sound that words could never touch. Playing or writing music allows parts of me to speak that would otherwise stay hidden, locked away, unacknowledged, unresolved. And very often, that music is sad. Not because I want to dwell in sadness, but because I want people who feel what I've felt to know they're not alone, to know that someone sees them, that their experience is real, and that it matters. Art is one of the few places where pain doesn't have to be justified, where longing isn't embarrassing, and where grief isn't something to fix. When I create, especially during the holidays, it's not an escape from reality. It's a way of metabolizing it, of turning something heavy into something honest, something that can move through me instead of just staying stuck. And art doesn't just work one way. Turning toward the art of others, music, film, painting, architecture, even nature, can be a form of companionship, a reminder that other human beings have stood where you're standing, that they've felt this too, and that they found a way to say it. That's why I believe art is a sanctuary. It's a place where anyone can enter, where you don't need a family invitation or a perfect story, where you're allowed to feel exactly what you feel and still belong. One of the quieter lessons the holidays have been teaching me, slowly and imperfectly, is that family is not something you're simply handed. It's something you build. Since I left home in my early 20s, I've been learning what it means to create a chosen family. And I don't just mean friends instead of relatives, because sometimes even blood relationships become chosen, renegotiated, redefined. As an adult, you get to decide where your time goes, where your energy goes, what you invest in, and eventually what you allow your life to look like. That's been a difficult lesson for me. There have been setbacks, long stretches of loneliness, periods where the vision felt very far away. But over time, I've learned to take the wheel of my own life, to allow myself to imagine something better, and then to move toward it, even haltingly. The holidays have also taught me to cherish simplicity. Some of the most meaningful moments of my life haven't been grand or performative. They've been quiet. Sharing a meal, singing together, planting a tree, waking up next to someone I love. These moments don't photograph well, but they last. I think about Christmas a few years ago when my dad drove in and we had friends over. We sang all 12 verses of the 12 Days of Christmas, and my dad ended up with the 5 golden rings part. It was funny and warm and imperfect, and it mattered. I've also found deep meaning in creating holiday art and performances. Yes, there's camp. Yes, there's spectacle. But there's also sincerity, beauty, a shared effort, a sense of belonging that comes from making something together and offering it to others. What I keep coming back to is this. Why do we reserve this level of care, attention, and humanity for once a year? Why do we act as though connection, generosity, and tenderness are seasonal and not essential? Maybe the holidays aren't meant to be an exception. Maybe they're meant to be a reminder. If you're listening to this and feeling lonely or grief-stricken or on the outside of the holidays, I want you to know something very clearly. You are not alone. You may feel alone, and it may look that way from where you're standing, but there are countless other people carrying the same quiet weight right now, even if you can't see them. I also want you to trust that this moment is temporary. It's so easy to believe that the way things feel right now is the way they'll always feel. I've believed that myself more than once, and I've been wrong. There were months before I met my husband when I had nearly given up on the idea of partnership, and now I'm married, building a life I could not have imagined back then. So, let the sadness come, if it comes. Let the fear come. Let it move through you like a river. Don't harden against it. Don't wall yourself off. Hold it the way you would an upset child, with patience, with curiosity, with care. Ask what it's trying to tell you. And if you're an artist, create something. Turn what you're feeling into a song, a painting, a story, a dance. Not to make it pretty, but to make it honest. Art gives pain somewhere to go. It keeps it from consuming you. And more often than not, it becomes a light for someone else down the road. Turn toward the art of others, too. Watch a film, visit a museum, walk your neighborhood, and notice beauty wherever you can. Art is a sanctuary. It's one of the few places where everybody is allowed to belong. And if you can, share your experience. Let someone see you as you are. Be honest. Be vulnerable. We need more of that in this world. The right people will respond with kindness. The holidays don't define your worth, but they can remind you of your humanity. And that humanity, your sensitivity, your longing, your capacity to love, it's not a weakness, it's the point. And so, wherever this season finds you, whether it feels full or quiet, joyful or unresolved, know that there is nothing you need to prove. You are allowed to be exactly where you are, in a life that is still unfolding. May you move through these days with gentleness. May you let art hold what words cannot. May you find moments of connection, however small. And may you remember that even now, especially now, you belong.